listeners. Thanks for joining another podcast of the Investor Spotlight. Today we have special guest Shawn Ray from Ontario, Canada. He's made a lot of progress, a lot of growth, 2 years of investing, and he already has 11 rental properties. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I'm happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started with real estate investing.
Sure. So to go back and not get into super ton of detail, I basically did everything wrong up until I was 25 years old. I wasn't educated financially. I didn't grow up in like a wealthy family or anything like that. I grew up single family home. We struggled to make ends meet generally, to be honest. I remember times when I was younger, going with my mom to food banks because we didn't have enough money for groceries. And I remember going into these halls that had the food, and you had to pick it based on point system. So we would have a certain amount of points, and they were marked with 1, 2, or 3 based on the number of points it would cost to get those foods. And that kind of always stayed with me up until now. It kind of always it resonated with me, and I always had it in the back of my mind. So up until I was 25, when we were about to have our first daughter, I realized that I wasn't doing things any differently than anybody else around me. I was doing the same thing that everybody else around me was doing, which was I had a career at my job. I was going to my 9 to 5, commuting back and forth. Sometimes it was an hour and a half each way. My wife was going on mat leave, and we were struggling to pay bills. And we had a brand new house. We had just bought our first house. To get that house alone was a struggle. The real estate prices here are pretty high. So it was a struggle just to get into our first property. But once we did, we felt like we had made it. You know, we felt like, oh, we have a brand new house. We had a new car. We were growing our family, and we were doing everything right, until I realized that with the bills, we were living paycheck to paycheck, and we had zero savings. So something didn't add up. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Right. So I went back and I kind of reassessed everything I was doing, and I decided to start educating myself on finances and how can I build another income stream. And I came across real estate as a source of passive income. So that's basically how I got started. And that was actually at around 25, 26 when I was having my first daughter. So I convinced my wife to sell our brand new house and move into an older house that was a duplex. And we were going to house. That was
a difficult decision.
That was something that I'm so grateful that I'm so grateful right now that she was able to go along and support that decision, because it wasn't easy. I know a lot of partners that they wouldn't do that. You know, they wouldn't put that sacrifice. And sometimes you do have to take that sacrifice to go ahead, right? To move ahead. Absolutely. And kind of leapfrog over others. So that was kind of the start of our journey. And I had plans, you know, on goals of where I wanted to go. So I'd outlined like a 3 to 5 year plan where I wanted to buy my second rental property. So I wanted to save up enough money by offsetting the mortgage from our first property. We were living upstairs and renting the downstairs, and I was covering the mortgage. And I figured I'd be able to save up enough money within 3 to 5 years to be able to buy a second rental property. Long story short, 3 to 5 years went by. It was actually like 3.5 years went by, and I hadn't saved any money.
Oh, no.
So I was back to the drawing board. What am I doing wrong? Something's not adding up. And I kind of reassessed the situation, and I said, okay, I told my wife I'm going to get a second job, because I really want to meet that goal. I had it outlined. I had it on my vision board. I want to get that second rental property. I want to build an income stream that's passive. And so she supported that. I was working as an IT guy. I still am working as an IT guy now, but I was working 9 to 5 as an IT guy. And I started working at a restaurant from 6 p.m. until 11 p.m. every night. Wow. And then I got a third job, and I was driving taxis from 11 until 4 in the morning. And
I didn't know when you slept.
Yeah, I really didn't. Like for a year, it was just kind of like hustle. And I was able to put together the money, save up enough money, and buy that second rental property. Now, realistically, I know that because I was inexperienced, I didn't really, there was easier ways to do it. You know, I didn't have to do that. There's private lending that I could have used. There's joint ventures I could have used. There's other ways that I could have kind of guided myself. But because I was inexperienced at the time, that was the only way that I knew how. And and we can talk a little bit more about how I was able to scale from just those two to like 2.5 years ago to my portfolio now.
Yeah, because it seems like, I mean, you had some determination though to last that long and keep that goal. And that's huge, because I think a lot of people who get into real estate, they think it's going to be easy, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to flip some properties and make some money. And then they get into it and they find out it's hard and they stop. But you didn't stop. So this is great to show people, okay, maybe you don't know all the tools and all the resources out there, but you can do something and do it and get to your goal and don't give up. So that's huge. So yeah, it took a long time. You got the property, but now boom, you're up to 11. So what changed?
So basically I changed the people that I was talking to. And this is one of the best advice that I can give to a new investor is to talk to somebody who's already done whatever you want to do. And that's whether if it's in real, I know we're talking specifically about real estate, but that comes in life in general. So, for me, I'm a big believer that mindset is the reason that I'm able to do all of this. So I really focus on my mindset and change my mindset by self-educating myself on mindset, how I can become a more positive person, how I can become the best father that I can be. So that I was able to actually, believe in myself and trust in myself and connect with other like-minded individuals. So really I created a team of people and I connected with the right people. And that's what allowed me to go from 2 properties to 11 properties within 2.5 years. So I connected really with the right mortgage brokers. That's really essentially what it was. So once I connected with my mortgage broker, the right one who had experience. So my mortgage broker was a real estate investor himself with a portfolio of properties.
So he understands what you're going through and what you're looking for.
Yeah. And he had as many properties as I wanted to have. Right. So I looked up to him and I said, hey, like, this is where I want to be. Can you guide me? What can I do? And so he did. And he showed me how I can leverage my other properties and the power of leverage and refinancing and the different types of mortgages. We were able to refinance my 2 existing properties. And with that, I was able to buy a 4-unit property and another duplex here in the area. And that was in 2018. So I bought those 2 properties in 2018. And then fast forward into 2019, I leveraged those 2 properties that I had bought and I purchased 4 more duplexes in 2019. And then within the last quarter of 2019 and up until now, I've purchased 3 more. So we're up to
domino effect.
Yeah. And it's really, with real estate, if you're buying right, which I've been really focusing on buying, making money on the buy. So I try not to just purchase right off of MLS. I try to use wholesalers, or I go door knocking, or I do flyers and I put my business cards in people's mailboxes. And I try to find those off market deals, because the real estate prices here, generally for a duplex, you're looking at like 300,000 to 400,000 for price range. And I've been able to pick those up for about like 75 cents on the dollar. And because of that, I'm saving a lot of money on the buy. And that's what allows me to refinance those properties and go and purchase another property.
You're already getting equity in the property as soon as you buy it.
Exactly.
That's wonderful. That's a great strategy, just to leverage the properties that you already have. A lot of people don't think about that, or maybe they're just sitting around and they have just their primary home, but maybe you do the same with your primary home and start that way. There's always a way.
Yes.
If you get creative enough and you're determined enough, you'll figure out a way.
Yeah. And really just talking to the people who've already done it, right? So if you're a real estate investor or a new, you're newer to real estate investing, you want to get into it, and maybe you only have 1 rental, or maybe you don't have any rentals yet, and you have equity in your primary residence, you should really be looking to tap into that, but don't over leverage yourself, of course, right? Because with everything going on right now, you can see that times are uncertain. So you don't really know what's going to happen with the economy and stuff like that. But with that being said, if you do have enough equity, you can go and refinance your property, leverage some of that, go buy your first rental property, and just make sure that you're buying right. So work with a real estate agent who is an investor themselves, has their own portfolio of properties, right? Work with a mortgage broker who's an investor themselves. Work with a lawyer who's an investor himself.
That's a good point, because if it's a typical, real estate agent or something like that, they only know one side of things and they're after one thing. And likewise, this other person was really open-minded and really kind of mentored you and helped you to get to where you are, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot to thank, and I'm really grateful for my team of people that I have around me.
So now that you are out there with numerous rental properties, I hear that you're looking to give back to the community and provide coaching. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of people reaching out to me for, I guess, guidance, mentorship, and my insight or counsel on real estate investing. And so I've been basically setting up calls with people and just it's free coaching calls. So I'm just giving back. I've been very grateful for the amount of success that I've experienced in such a short amount of time. And because of that, I want to help others around me. I want to help other people that have interest in real estate investing. And I'd love to be just a mentor to people, and they can reach out to me and ask for guidance, and I can try to the best of my abilities to coach them through whatever they're going through.
It's a very generous offer. How would one get in touch with you if they'd like to take advantage of that?
I'm very active on social media. So on Instagram, it's Shawn REA. Facebook, same thing. My website, shawnrea.com. And you can actually book the coaching call right on my website. It's a free 30-minute call. And I'm happy to talk about real estate with anybody, anytime.
That's awesome. And just so we can spell it out, it's Shawn, SHAWNREA.
That's correct. Yep.
Perfect. So everyone write that down. If you're new and you need some advice, the advice is there for you. And I think that's what's great about the real estate community. When people are doing well, they're always willing to share information. Nobody ever holds anything back here. So if you have a question, ask it. If you need help with something, ask, or else you'll just sit there and be stuck. So there's resources available.
Absolutely.
So, Shawn, what would you tell somebody as a bit of a motivation or direction, someone that's getting started and new? What's your best piece of advice for that person?
My best piece of advice is absorb as much information as you possibly can, but take action on that information. So if you're reading a book, right, like Think and Grow Rich was a great book for me. That was a good self-education book. Another book that changed my finance mindset really on how I look at finances was Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant. Mm-hmm. When I started reading those, I didn't just read them and then say, okay, I have this knowledge, but didn't apply it. I took it and I started applying it and implementing what I was learning while I was reading the book. And that helps so much because most people will read the book and then they don't actually take action or do anything. It just goes on the shelf and you forget about it. But so absolutely educate yourself and then talk to other people who are investing in real estate and stay active in it because you can ask those people to hold you accountable. So if you have goals that you want to reach, the more you talk about those goals to people that are like-minded and agree with what you're saying, the more people you'll have that will hold you accountable and they'll follow up with you and say, hey, like, how's it going with your real estate investing? Hey, what's your progress on buying that next rental property? Right. And it's motivating because you're working with other people who are doing the same thing that you're doing.
Absolutely. And then sometimes opportunities come up because they know what you're doing. So if they hear someone else and it matches, it could be a way to help you to reach those goals. So keeping your mouth closed does not help in this industry. That's for sure.
No, yeah, you want to be top of mind, right? And that's how I've gotten some of my deals is basically I'm talking about real estate a lot and other people who are in that community or investing or real estate agents reach out to me and they say, hey, Shawn, I got a great deal. What do you think of this? And I've actually bought some properties that way.
Nice. It's wonderful. I loved hearing the journey. It was amazing how you were just so determined. And even though it took such a long time, all your hard work really paid off.
Yes, it did.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the show, Shawn. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Crystal. Appreciate it.